married for more than 10 years, and maybe you could jump in, Len, your shit becomes your wife's stuff. And what I mean by that is none of the bad stuff, the cool stuff, right? Because all of her cool stuff is broken or missing.
Hey, all I can say is I used to have 2 full closets of space, and now I have 1. So
wait, have you been relegated to a spare bedroom closet yet, or no?
I have in our master bedroom, I used to have 2 full, nice size closets. And so she was like, oh, can I move a couple of things into half of one? And so half of one became a whole one. And I'm like, come on now. So yeah, she's definitely has expressed eminent domain on my stuff, on my space. But, that's being married to a woman. So it's all good.
When you have siblings, you are inoculated. Yes. You're inoculated from BS and crap at school. I believe for brothers to have brothers and brothers to have sisters and sisters to have brothers, because they all go hand in hand.
So there's this price that you have to pay because the relationship dynamic with your kids and you being gone a lot, there's a lot that you miss. But on the back end, because you deferred gratification, you're able to now make up for a lot of that lost time because you put in the work and you made it worth it. And now you get to, spend time.
For me, it's priceless. For me, the wealth is not the monetary thing. And I'm not putting down single mothers and single fathers at all. But what I don't like is I think it's a mistake that we glorify that too much, because 100%. I think we should glorify husband and wife staying together, because I look at it from a pragmatic standpoint and a nature standpoint. And if you want successful children, you got to use the most proven successful formula, right? And that formula succeeds statistically more than any other formula.
So New York lost $9.9 billion in adjusted gross income just from migration, according to IRS data. Florida
Did you say 9 billion?
9.9. So rounded up to $10 billion. So check.
And how much is the deficit in New York? What's the deficit in New York right now?
I don't have those figures in front of me.
I want to say somewhere around 18.
Okay, so check this out. Florida gained over $20 billion of adjusted gross income, or AGI, inflow. And then California, just to throw them into the pot, between 2019 and 2023, they lost about $90 billion. We'll see.
You know what surprises me? You know what surprises me about Florida so much, and Texas and all these areas? They have these big disasters and then they get hyped up by the media because the media is so jealous of them all the time. It's like all the blue states are jealous of the red state of Florida and Texas right now, kind of like the European Union is jealous of America, is envious of America. It's exactly the same thing. And go figure, they both think the same and they both want to be monarchs and stay monarchs, right? I mean, it's just weird, that behavior just always goes that way. But they're very envious of them. But here's what surprises me the most is California has a natural disaster and it eats them alive and they die, right? Like they have a disaster, like the fires, earthquakes, all this crap all the time. The hardest hitting areas are usually states that are not properly managed.
Let's specifically talk about Meta in this case. If they intentionally made it addictive and that can be proven, I believe they should be held accountable because of the fact that they intentionally put addictive elements of, their different variables to make people stay on their platform longer.
Here's what I can tell you is the solution. Everything starts in the home. And by the time you start having children, I'm not saying you can protect your children from everything. But by and large, you have already gone through a lot of stuff where you can go, I could get you through 80%, 70% of the pitfalls, son, daughter. Mm-hmm. The other 20, 30%, I don't know. It's going to be decisions that you make outside of me. The reason why no one messes with America is because everyone knows, dude, no matter how hard you knock America down, they just keep coming, dude. Don't mess with them.
We have to be careful in making sure that we don't underestimate the power of humans' desire to stay alive, and the depths of atrocities they will inflict on other human beings to make that happen.
Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
Because here's what I could tell you. If you have been married for more than 10 years, and I don't know if it happens at the 10-year mark or if it happens at the 5-year mark, maybe you can jump in here in a minute. I got some funny stuff to tell you.
Okay.
I've got, I'm sitting here right now. I've got clotrimazole or whatever it is on my desk, right? And I've got this sitting here on my desk looking at me today. So, but most importantly, I got this guy from one of my sons. This guy's sitting here, right? But when you've been married for more than 10 years, and maybe you could jump in, Len, your shit becomes your wife's stuff. And what I mean by that is none of the bad stuff, the cool stuff, right? Because all of her cool stuff is broken or missing.
Hey, all I can say is I used to have 2 full closets of space, and now I have 1. So
wait, have you been relegated to a spare bedroom closet yet or no?
I have in our master bedroom, I used to have 2 full, nice size closets. And so she was like, oh, can I move a couple of things into half of one? And so half of one became a whole one. And I'm like, come on now. So yeah, she's definitely has expressed eminent domain on my stuff, on my space. But, that's being married to a woman. So it's all good.
Well, you know all about eminent domain in the state of California, especially forced eminent domain, where you set up fake wildfires to burn down houses and not get permits to build them back.
You always find a way, Chris. Always. It does not fail with you, man.
So we had a medical emergency in the house this weekend, and and so here's what happened. This is why there's clotrimazole. So. My third youngest son, or my third oldest son, has like he what is this spot on his hand right here, right? It looks like a burn. It almost looks like if you, I don't want to say it this way, but when you put a cigarette out, so it looks like someone like that, right? It looks like that kind of burn. And so of course I chat GTP'd and cloud and all that stuff, and it came back and it's like, this is like a 70% chance that this is ringworm, right? He's got ringworm.
Okay.
So, and he's like, he's the boy that will wait 7 days to take a shower. He's 13. So he's that kid, touching the dogs, football, wrestling, and all that stuff. So I'm like, it's
so you're like, it makes sense. He's been around, huh?
Right. But of course, you say that word, right? And all the other kids are freaking out.
Ew, right. Now he's got cooties and he's contaminated. Yeah. Quarantine him.
Yes. And of course, because of the kid it is, it's like, we expect that to happen. Ew.
I'm sure he's catching it from the younger and the older ones.
Oh, yeah. So I'm like, I'm sure you guys won't be on the PC then, because he's on the computer more than any of you guys. So I'm sure you guys won't be going anywhere near that computer, will you?
That's right. They're not sharing his food. Like, hey, give him his food first.
It's like last. He's got leprosy. Yeah. He's got leprosy or something, right? But anyways.
So tough, man.
So that's why that's annoying. They are. But you know what? That's why every kid should have siblings, because when you have siblings, you are inoculated. Yes. You're inoculated from BS and crap at school, because you are. Like, I mean, I had 2 older brothers, and one of my oldest brother would beat the crap out of me all the time. So it was like, and he was a jerk. So it's like, you go to school and you're like, bro, what are you going to say or do to me that I don't get at home, right? With my brothers, and so I think it's essential to anybody out there listening. And you grew up, you were an only child.
I'm an only child, man. So yeah, as I'm listening to you, no doubt, man, because
I think it's essential.
Yeah. I had cousins, so that was, but it's not the same. It's definitely not.
It's not. So. It's not. But cousins in an African-American family and a Hispanic or Latin family is an Italian family is different than a general Caucasian family, in my experience, because cousins, at least it is for me, what I have seen where in my other friends that I have And obviously growing up, as a half Italian, and then seeing, Hispanic families and Latin families, cousins are pretty much brothers and sisters.
No doubt.
It's very tight.
Oh yeah.
But it's still is not the same.
I'll give you a quick anecdote just to touch on that point, which is, so every summer, all of the cousins on my dad's side would converge at my grandmother's house in Hanford. And so we stayed there from pretty much the middle part of June to the middle part of August. And so we spent all day, every day around each other. And I can tell you, man, they definitely toughened me up because, I was a little chubby. So my, older cousin would tease me relentlessly. And the thing is, I had this temper. So, I'm calm until I'm not. And so one time I tried to pop off and hit him. I was 9 and he was 13. It was all bad, man. So after that, he would just talk about me, and I knew I couldn't do anything about it because he could beat me up. So I had to toughen up, man. And so I would take it out on my other cousins. So it was a fun but interesting experience because, they don't hold back at all. And so I learned how to be tougher. I learned also how to dish it out, and I learned how to fight because of that experience. So I definitely understand about it, especially when you look at just the, boy dynamics versus boy girl dynamics. There's other, nuances there too. So I had a chance to have both of those. So it was good. I'm not taking back for anything. It was painful, but all growth is painful at a certain level. So
yeah, no, just in seeing the dynamics that I see now, it's so essential, I believe, for brothers to have brothers and brothers to have sisters and sisters to have brothers, because they all go hand in hand. Because regardless of how good, and I know that the way I'm able to parent my children is not like 90% of the world can parent their children, in the fact that I'm at home every day, all day long. And Mary and I are home all day long, all day with those kids. So, and more so today than we were, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't always like that. You had to
It wasn't always like, you had to earn it. It wasn't just given to me, right? But still, even though when I look at the fact when we were going, 7 days a week, 16 hours a day, and gone sometimes, where we would see our kids for probably 3 or 4 days sometimes, because we would, by the time we left, or they were sleeping, and by the time we got home, they were sleeping, those were, because I would get home, we would get home sometimes at 2 a.m, and my mom would be asleep on the couch, right? Because she'd be watching them, or I'd have to drive an hour and a half past my house to pick them up from my mother-in-law's house, then drive an hour and a half back to get them. So I get it, but
yeah, to that point, because I want you to finish your point about being able to be with your kids all day. A lot of times people will listen to the outcome and not realize what the input was, which was waking up and the kids are asleep. You're out working all day. You don't get to eat regularly. You get home, the kids are asleep. So there's this price that you have to pay because the relationship dynamic with your kids and you being gone a lot, there's a lot that you miss. But on the back end, because you deferred gratification, you're able to now make up for a lot of that lost time because you put in the work and you made it worth it. And now you get to, spend time. So man, finish your story about just being able to be with your kids and what the benefits and all of that stuff was all about.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. And the thing is seeing that dynamic, and it's a good point that you brought that up anyways, because even though I did have a little bit of agency and I was gone a lot, my older kids, they will talk about it in a jokingly way, where they'll go, oh, well, because I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. So they're like, they get some ire.
Completely different.
Totally different. But they get some ire though, because the older kids are like, oh, well, we didn't get everything like that. Like, you guys got everything you wanted, right? But it's still, they see that difference in there. But at the same time, get over it. Who is able to, for me, it's priceless. For me, the wealth is not the monetary thing. Yeah, you need all of that stuff. But to me, what I have learned and what I have discovered is in my quest to obtain wealth and in my quest to be number one and compete at a high level in business and work because we epitomized hustle culture. Like, we know that, Len. Like, we epitomized hustle culture, and we had the rare opportunity. Most people don't, but you and I had the rare opportunity to be mentored and work with someone who is in the 1% of 1% of leaders, meaning someone who can just drive and just, it doesn't matter. We were in a vacuum for 15 years. If you have a rare opportunity to work with someone like that, I can tell you the biggest net thing that I take away from working with someone who can go 90-80% signal on a given task is you really know how to close out, and you really know how to get things done when the stakes are high.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's an evergreen skill set. But my older kids do see that, but they appreciate it. But yeah, I just think it's amazing to see, because in seeing that dynamic now, because I'm home more now, I see it and I go, wow, man, if I would have had a sister, how different would I have been? Because I didn't have I had a half sister, but she wasn't in our lives like from birth, So to have a sister, how much different, like if you had direct siblings, how much different? I can tell you, you're a completely different human being. You are.
No doubt.
So
no doubt.
I'm very, very grateful for that, because I think brothers need brothers, brothers need sisters, sisters need sisters, and sisters need brothers. You need, when you see, and additionally, they need mom and dad. Right. And when you see that, I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm not saying if you believe in two women or two men raising children, I'm not saying, or single parents and all that stuff. But, and I know we were going to talk about this, but I think one of the biggest, in seeing it from my perspective, I think and I'm not putting down single mothers and single fathers at all. But what I don't like is, I think it's a mistake that we glorify that too much, because 100%. I think we should glorify husband and wife staying together, because I look at it from a pragmatic standpoint and a nature standpoint. And if you want successful children, you got to use the most proven successful formula, right? And that formula succeeds statistically more than any other formula. No just my observation quickly as we go into this first 13 minutes that we open this, because I thought it was just funny. Everybody thought there was a disease going rampant in my house, and
right.
Headphones and stuff being taken, and but yeah, it's an interesting thing. But
and the interesting part, just to piggyback on that, is that because of your success, you're able to be around to experience all of that banter and that fun, and I think it's a perfect segue into our conversation about New York and the governor, because what happened is she started, because of your success, it gave you the ability to have flexibility. And so what she did is she talks to the ultra wealthy and the ultra successful people with the most flexibility back in 2022. And she says, listen, if you don't like New York, you can go ahead and kick rocks and pound sands and bye-bye. And now in 2026, she turns her tune, man. So tell me what your thoughts are about that, and just what's been going on in New York along those lines.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that we didn't start off talking today about obviously the Iran conflict. It's not a war; it's a conflict, or whatever we're calling it today.
Yes, right.
The pain in everybody's ass is really what it is. But it is a temporary. It is. I do still believe it's temporary pain for a lot of long-term gain. But anyways, I'm shocked. Yeah, now she's online. Hochel's online or on news or whatever you call it today, begging. She's saying, we need all those people that went to South Beach to come back. Please. And Florida's just sweetening the pot by going, hey, we might just eliminate property taxes and state income tax. So come to Florida, where there's no income tax already. And by the way, you might not have property tax.
That's
and it's crazy. To me, can you believe that? But here's the thing, Len.
If they bring economic base, it's all math. They can figure that out.
If anybody's read Atlas Shrugged, you'll understand what's going on. I highly encourage everyone to read Atlas Shrugged. How long is it? Like 48 hours on audio or something?
Yeah, it's a thick one.
But Len, tell me, the people, the producers, of the world, right? The people who construct, the creators of the world, the people that want to take the risk, that want to deploy capital, whether they deploy capital to invest at risk or they deploy their time, like you and I did initially. You know, they are going where they are recognized, where the currency is hard work to produce things. So, I mean, because you think about it, right? For example, you and I started off in insurance. Okay. Bro, the products and services that were invented 1,000 years ago, we're benefiting from that still.
100%.
Because if someone didn't invent insurance contracts, you and I wouldn't have a primary business that you and I initially got into.
That's right.
Well, anyways, for me, anyways, I mean, officially, you might have had stuff before that because you've been an entrepreneur longer than I have. But think about the amount of wealth that is still, even today. If someone didn't create the personal computer, you and I wouldn't be sitting here talking on this thing. Because so the
innovation.
But see, Len, that's the thing that irritates me about where people have it backwards in America. And you know what it is?
What's that?
Where they look at someone like Ho and they go, oh, but she has so much experience in government. What is that experience getting us?
Right.
Where it's like experience in doing what? Nothing. Right? So then when you look at somebody like, and I know you love this guy, but we'll just say it, Donald Trump has brought more economic prosperity still to New York City than a lot of people have, because people are still benefiting from the entrepreneurial activities that him and his family did in New York. People are still benefiting from the
love him or hate him. That's undeniable. That's for sure.
People are still benefiting from the opportunities his father was doing there. Right? So now she's begging, please come back. So yeah, I think that we have yet to see, actually we are seeing it, but we have yet to see the breadth and domain of the mass internal migrations that happened in the country over the last few years post-COVID and continue to happen. I think California is now seeing one of those as the worst, because not only are, the $500,000 or up earners leaving California en masse, they've already left. A lot of them have left. Now you see the billionaires. Zuckerberg left, Elon left. I mean, think of it. Zuckerberg left.
Yes.
You know the data.
Right.
Len, would anyone say Zuckerberg left? I don't think so.
I wouldn't have seen that coming. Check this out. So New York lost $9.9 billion in adjusted gross income just from migration, according to IRS data. Florida.
Did you say 9 billion?
9.9. So rounded up to $10 billion. So check.
And how much is the deficit in New York? What's the deficit in New York right now?
I don't have those figures in front of me.
I want to say it's somewhere around 18.
Okay, so check this out. Florida gained over $20 billion of adjusted gross income, or AGI inflow. And then California, just to throw them into the pot, between 2019 and 2023, they lost about $90 billion. So is not just the taxes, but it's a combination. So it's because of the cost of living in those places are ridiculously high. And then also when you look at taxes, that's a given. And then also what happened is COVID really opened up the floodgates for remote work. So if I could go from New York to Florida, I live in a place that's sunny, the taxes are lower, and there's no state tax, and the property and the cost of living is lower. Why wouldn't I do that? And so this is also crazy. Companies that relocated to Florida from New York, the Citadel left and went to Florida, and then also Elliott Management, and who's considering shifting? Apollo Global Management and Goldman Sachs.
That's three massive financial institutions.
Huge. And Goldman Sachs is even considering to expanding to your state in Texas to expand their operations.
New Wall Streets and New Hollywoods.
Absolutely.
You know what this tells me? And this is exactly why I fear about politicians. And this is exactly why there should be, here's the issue. The governments and states are just like businesses. Would you agree?
Absolutely. In many ways, absolutely.
You just have to add more of a human element to it.
That's right.
Right? Because you have to have basic social services. Mm-hmm. You have to have basic safety net social services. We're rich enough to have it. There should be basic medical social services. There should be basic food. There should be all of that stuff. All of it. There should be, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the problem. And I got this. Somebody told me this a long time ago. It was a lender. It was a very successful mortgage broker. He said, houses are like miniature economies, and this is what governors and mayors like Hochul and Newsom and freaking Bass don't understand. They're so busy appealing to ideals, and that's fine. You should keep ideals there. But you and I know both firsthand, Len, ideals don't make the world go round in sense of putting food on the table and putting gas in the pipeline to keep the furnace on, right?
Economics drives the ability to be able to provide social services for the ones that need it.
Social services come after basic services are established. 100%. So he says single-family homes are like miniature economies. And see, this is exactly what you say. Well, adjusted gross income tax revenue left. But guess what? When you leave, so let's say, for example, you leave, you left your house. You're no longer paying a telephone bill in that state, electric bill, gas bill, utility bills, sales tax, grocery store, school tuitions, local tax, all that economic impact as a result of not just your income being taxed on an income tax basis, but you actually socially living and interacting and conducting commerce in that city, in that municipality is gone. It's evaporated. So that trickles all the way up to a state level budget. And now you have a broke state. And guess what? Those people that left just didn't make a lot of money. They employed the other people making minimum wage. So this is where you have politicians that have never had a balance sheet, have never had to pay a payroll, have never looked at a balance sheet 10 years into projections and go, wait a minute, if we do this, we're going to run off a cliff and create sustainability. Their answer is just, well, we don't. The answer is the spigot never turns off. Well, guess what? Eventually the spigot turns off, and now you're seeing that.
Yeah,
you're seeing that.
It comes down to this idea of deferred gratification versus short-term thinking, right? Because a lot of times, to your point, if I'm a politician, I'm only thinking about how can I get reelected and what decisions can I make today that will make my tomorrow, my immediate tomorrow, better, and without regard to my future tomorrows. And so when Hochul said, hey, you guys can take off, she wasn't thinking long term that, in 2022, she could never foresee COVID happening. And so when COVID happened, she realized that, you know what, not only can I, as a creator of jobs and an innovator, I have the economic capacity and the flexibility to take my money and my tax revenue elsewhere because I can. And especially now that I can jump on a camera and do it, then I get out there and I realize, you know what? The governor is friendly towards me because they recognize the revenue that I bring in makes their community and their state better. And so now all they're going to do is start sweetening up the pot for me versus this other place. Okay, I've been there. There's some familiarity, but you look at me as the enemy. And anytime you want to get reelected, you want to tax me. And so when you look at the ramifications of that, California and New York, as much as you give them crap, you're right from an economic standpoint that they are making terrible decisions to disincentivize businesses. For example, X left California to go. Who else? You had
X, Chevron, ConocoPhillips.
Absolutely.
ExxonMobil.
Yes.
Chevron. How long was Chevron was in California
Twitter.
for since the 60s or the 50s?
Yeah, bro. Exactly. And so when you have all of these factors that start to hit at the same time, now you lose so much credibility because you're not thinking for the long term. Because even though you may term out as a governor, you leave the rest of us here with the big mess. And it's really, really unfortunate that politicians don't think about their constituency. They think about themselves. And then the other part of it is that, like, for example, in New York with Kathy Hochul and then also Mandami, like, I like how he talks and I like how he expresses ideals, but there is no long-term evidence to support that taxing the wealthy works. It just doesn't.
No.
And so when you have that whole situation, it's only going to get worse if they continue to go down that path. The money and the intellectual innovators are going to leave, and they're going to go to Florida and they're going to go to Texas. And so just imagine what that place will look like, both New York and California. If this trend continues, what'll happen in the next 10, 15, 20, let alone 50 years? And so I'm really, really pessimistic unless they start thinking more long term.
Well, that Hollywood's good at predicting the future, right? You agree with me on that? Like, you see Hollywood movies and you see the future,
movies
right?
project a lot. Absolutely.
Well, here's what I can tell you. The future has already been told about New York and LA because Kurt Russell was in a movie. I love Kurt Russell, by the way. I'm a huge Kurt Russell fan.
He's a great actor.
And you know what movies are? Escape from New York and Escape from LA. So if you want to know what New York and LA are going to look like, just watch those movies. The future, LA, California, and New York are already looking like both of those movies. So in 10, 15 years, you go, dude, what is California and New York going to look like? Just watch the movie, Escape LA and Escape from New York. It's going to be the same exact thing. You're going to go, holy crap. Yeah. Because it's exactly what's going on in those states, which is unfortunate because I love California. I grew up in San Diego. I love California. It's beautiful. But
I'm optimistic that somebody's at some point in time will figure it out because, I can understand.
Please elect Hilton. Just elect Hilton.
We'll see.
Just put him in.
Yeah, we'll see. But California has so much to offer. I mean, because, when you look at the weather, you look at all of, just the whole biodiversity, it's a very unique state and I love it, but financially it sucks. It sucks to live here.
When is the last time you took a trip to Florida and actually drove around and stayed like 2 weeks in Florida in a nice place? I'm talking like that you would love, what you'd love? You'd love Orlando area, or you'd love like the suburbs of Orlando, or you would love Tallahassee, or you'd love Fort Lauderdale. Those are my three. I love every single one of those areas. Len, I spent some time in Tallahassee. I could not believe how beautiful it was there. I was like, and the beaches? I was like, get the hell out of here, man. Are you kidding me right now?
Florida's a beautiful state. I mean, my mom lives in Florida, so I've had a chance to, one time we flew in to Miami. We stayed in South Beach, hung out there, and then drove through Cocoa Beach and up the Panhandle, all the way up because my mom lives in Jacksonville area, Orange Park. So we've seen all of Florida. So Florida definitely has a lot to offer. So that's definitely not out of the equation, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
You know what surprises me? You know what surprises me about Florida so much and Texas and all these areas? They have these big disasters and then they get hyped up by the media because the media is so jealous of them all the time. It's like all the blue states are jealous of the red state of Florida and Texas right now, kind of like the European Union is jealous of America, is envious of America. It's exactly the same thing. And go figure, they both think the same and they both want to be monarchs and stay monarchs, right? I mean, it's just weird, that behavior just always goes that way. But they're very envious of them. But here's what surprises me the most is California has a natural disaster and it eats them alive and they die, right? Like they have a disaster, like the fires, earthquakes, all this crap all the time. And by the way, California hasn't had a major earthquake since Northridge. Like, I pray that California doesn't experience an 8 because that state's toast. If an 8.0 hits the San Andreas Fault, which is I've heard since I was in grade school in California, LA's toast. Like there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Yeah. A Category 5 hurricane comes through Florida and it's like smack, and within a week they're fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A once in 1,000 year.
I mean, if you guys.
But that's my point, though. That's my point. Is when you have a state that responsibly manages resources and manages its natural environment, you can have proper emergency response. But when you have a state that are not emergency response managed, like case in point, when Katrina and all that stuff, Louisiana, the hardest hitting areas are usually states that are not properly managed.
That's true.
And when those states get hit, they because again, states are businesses, right?
Speaking of businesses, Did you hear about Meta? They had a really rough week last week. On March 20th.
What was the number on that? They lost the suit, right?
Yes. On March 24th, they lost. So this was the one in New Mexico. They lost 375 million. It was the state of New Mexico versus Meta. And then the following day, March 25th, Los Angeles case, there was the jury that found Meta guilty. $6 million of damages awarded to a young woman who suffered from depression and anxiety. And what she is saying is that the legal basis was based on product design, that they alleged that they built the product intentionally to be addictive. And then also they failed to warn the users of the potential for addiction. And so right now it's an appeal, but I just wanted to ask you, given the fact that Meta took 2 big L's last week, I want to talk about the bigger picture, which is one, this idea of social media and mental health, and 2, the flip side of that coin, which is personal responsibility over using those tools, because those two in my mind are still in conflict with each other. I wanted to get your thoughts and see where this conversation goes.
I'm very torn. I'm not torn, I should say, because I've been watching this type of debate. You and I have been watching this type of debate. I think if you're old enough to remember, meaning if you're I think you're in your mid 30s or older, you'll know this happened already with tobacco, right? With big tobacco, where big tobacco. And what's funny is that the government is always in bed with these companies. The government always has its hand in this, and then the government, oddly enough, lets them do it and then disciplines them later. It's so weird. It's such a weird, and that I guess is what you're seeing. I don't know, what would you call that? Is that crony capitalism? Is that what that is?
That's why I said this. Follow the money.
Yeah, you're seeing the decay of that's where natural capitalism becomes polluted, because you have meddling in it. You have people meddle with the free market. So you have governments that allow for illegal stuff to happen. But so in this case, you and I watched this unfold already with big tobacco. Look, everyone knows that smoking cigarettes is not good. Everyone knows this. Like everyone knows that if you smoke cigarettes, it's just bad news for you. It's disgusting, right? Like you see that movie Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and she asks for an ashtray and says, "I don't smoke, it's a disgusting habit." And he's flicking the seeds and everything on her desk. But it's gross. Smoking cigarettes is disgusting, but everybody knows it's bad for you. Correct. And there's a warning on the side that says it's bad for you. So,
which wasn't always there, by the way.
Wasn't always there, right? And yes, tobacco companies marketed to kids, Joe Camel, the same thing, right? And then they changed their tune in the late 90s, early 2000s with the vapes, right? And I remember when vapes first started coming out, and I was like, oh my God. And they market to that, and they flavored tobacco. They came down really hard on that in California. In fact, I think, are hookah lounges still illegal in California?
Or they have hookah lounges.
Oh, okay, because they almost were, because flavored tobacco was almost illegal.
Yeah, but you have to be an adult to go, of course. But yeah,
right. Okay, so all of this stuff is happening. So to me, it's like, well, then if they come down on Facebook this hard, yeah, I don't doubt for a second that they made it addicting, because you know how to spike dopamine, short dopamine, blah, 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 and then your brain is just it's just this, it's the same as porn, right? You know that's why all these men can't have relationships, because they've grown up watching porn their whole life. So they're like, so they think porn is real. Porn is like 1%, just like Hollywood's one. So that's just like you have this issue with social media today, and my boys say it. They go, these girls look fake in real life. There's so much makeup, and the way they do it, they look fake. They look like cartoons. They look like, all these girls today want to look like Jessica Rabbit in the movie. Remember,
absolutely.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and they want to look like a cartoon in life, and they do. And you're like, weird. So you know this stuff. So you know the impact. So for me, I'm like, why would you? I think it could be challenged, and I think it should be overturned, because you know the warnings. You know the risk, dude. This would be saying that like if we allowed this kind of stuff, then why aren't we allowing Mazola and Kraft Foods to get sued for selling seed oils? Like We can't stratify the data, Len, and go, colorectal cancer is 1,000% increase and seed oils is 1,000% increase in the same time period. And these things cause colorectal cancers. How do we not see the correlation there and then go, well, we might as well go sue Mondelez and Kraft Foods and Heinz and all this stuff for making stuff that we know causes cancer.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
I would say
is it not? Is it because it's not physical, it's mental?
No, I largely agree with you. I would say the only point of departure is that in the beginning, when social media became widely distributed and something that became part of just the social zeitgeist, I don't think that people had enough information to understand the long-term effects of that type of interaction. And
I think they do.
I think it's easy for us to say that now because we have so much data and we have the ability to look back in hindsight. But if you look at just the development, so this is where I'm going with it. If Meta or, Facebook or whatever the social media, but let's specifically talk about Meta in this case, if they intentionally made it addictive and that can be proven, I believe they should be held accountable because of the fact that they intentionally put addictive elements of, their different variables to make people stay on their platform longer, like doing continuous scrolling and auto suggesting and things like that. I think on the one hand, if you intentionally make it where it's addictive and then there's harm as a result of that and there's no warnings, that's the problem. And so now I think moving forward, let's say, for example, as you look at, year 2026 and beyond, everybody now knows that if you overuse social media, if you're on there too long, there are addictive elements. User beware. And because of that, you shouldn't be able to go after a company because you misused the tool. So that's why I said before that I have mixed feelings about it, because I do believe, to your point, that people should exercise personal accountability. If I go to the Smith and Wesson store and I buy a gun and I shoot myself and kill myself, Smith and Wesson can't be held liable because I already knew the dangers of it. So I guess where I would say my point of departure is at when can we determine that the mass population knows enough to be able to take personal steps to hold themselves accountable, or parents hold their children accountable for the amount of consumption? Last point. With cell phones, I went back and forth with my wife because I resisted my kids getting cell phones. Like 95% of my kids' friends already had cell phones before I even let them get it, because I knew as a parent that the moment they put that thing in their hand, they have access to a world I can't control. And until you're old enough to be able to make good, informed decisions, you don't need one of these. And so I fought it for a long time. So as a general default, I'm always slow to adopt something new because I'm always wondering and concerned about what the harm could be. So that's where I stand on it.
The only issue I have with it is this, and where you're saying, because I can get on board with what you're saying, but then I look at it and I go, what's the difference between that and the tabloids? Getting addicted to tabloid newspapers. Because the tabloid news, like for example, National Enquirer, we know 60% of that shit's garbage. Bat Boy found in cave, right? All that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But we know it does what? Oh my God, you get addicted to it. So see, to me, the medium just changed. It went from a printed piece of paper to a digital piece of paper. And now we're interacting with each other. And let's go back even further. What's the difference between social media and society, meaning court? You got banned. Oh, Len and Tasha are banished from court now because could you believe what Tasha wore white shoes after Labor Day? You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've been dealing with this stuff for a long time. I just think that the medium has changed. There's nothing new under the sun, right? It's just we're consuming the same type of information. We're just consuming it faster on a device like this. So we have the same warnings. It's the same warning because here's what I can tell you is the solution. Everything starts in the home. And by the time you start having children, I'm not saying you can protect your children from everything, but by and large, you have already gone through a lot of stuff where you can go, I could get you through 80%, 70% of the pitfalls, son, daughter. Mm-hmm. The other 20, 30%, I don't know. It's going to be decisions that you make outside of me. You're going to be, because think about it, by the time your children or 15, 16, you've already spent 75% of the time with them that you will ever spend with them because they're going to go and think about when you became 19, 20, you're like, hey, unless you have a really tight knit family, like where a family sticks together. And that's kind of what I have built and what I'm trying to continue to build is that everybody continues to rely on each other because at the end of the day, when you look up, when you're 45, 50 years old, you don't really have a lot of friends, but if your family's intact, your family's going to be there for you.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, I need $25,000. No question asked. They send it. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Now, what do you need it for? What's going on? Where are you? You know what I'm talking about. Like, it's just say less. Cash, check, money order. How do you need it? Cuz. And then a few days later, hey, bro, you okay? Everything work out? You start to find out that doesn't exist anymore. So if you are responsible in the home and you're raising your kids with responsibilities, morals, ethics, values, but most importantly, consequences, right? Consequences. Like yesterday, my 6-year-old daughter is on this kick right now where she's trying to test us with I'm bored. And Len, I've done this rodeo before. Bored. That's like crime doesn't. I used to tell my kid.
That's the oldest one in the book, right?
Girl, you trying to pull this one on me? It's just like, we used to tell to our kids all the time, and crying does nothing for me. Crying doesn't, you can cry all you want in your room. It's not, oh, poor baby. It does nothing for me. So I'm bored. You got to figure it out, mama. You got to figure it out. And then she pouted for 2 hours in her bed. And then guess what? She came back, I love you, Daddy.
They get over it. You give them tough love.
You want some ice cream? You want some ice cream? I love some ice cream. And all was well. She's back to normal. But see, I'm going to teach that stuff to my kids so that when they get into the real world, it's going to be very hard to manipulate them. Exactly. It's going to be very hard for a narcissist to manipulate them or someone to take advantage of them. Not saying they're impervious, but I'm inoculating my kids that way so that they don't get stuck in a trap like this. Go, oh, I got bullied on social media.
Right. Absolutely.
I would be shocked if my kids did because I asked them. And it's not just, hey, how's your grades? It's, hey, Len. Hey, Emery, anything make you feel weird today? What's on your mind, dude? Anything you've been thinking about for a while? It's not, you got to get a deep conversations with your children.
Absolutely.
And I think that is the easiest way to prevent meta lawsuits like this. Because I know my kids are going to try cigarettes. I know my kids are going to try pot. I know they are going to try alcohol. Well, they've already tried alcohol because at 16, I introduced, or 14, 15, I introduced them to alcohol. 16, I introduced them. I said, hey, look,
this stuff is nasty. Yeah.
But they know it. You know what I mean? Now they're not surprised, Len, like they don't, oh my God, that's what I do. I don't need someone in high school to introduce them to this stuff. I don't. They're going to know about it so they don't go, I know what that is already.
Right. That curiosity factor.
So that's my only pushback to that, Len, is the tabloids and court has been showing people the wrong things to do since the dawn of time. Since
I just
the apple in the Garden of Eden, Len. The apple in the Garden of Eden is no different than overusage of social media today. It's the same thing, baby.
I hear you, and I definitely am in 100% lockstep alignment with regard to the parents' role and being accountable to make sure that we raise our kids the right way. I 100% agree with that. I also believe companies have a responsibility to make sure they warn their people. And if they fall short, then they should pay a price because they need to be disincentivized to purposefully addict their population. But again, we have the responsibility on our end. So far, Chris, this entire conversation has been kumbaya. We've been agreeing on everything.
But let's wrap it up here.
Wrap it up with this Iran conflict.
And before I say that, Mazzola, if RFK Jr. wants to do anything, he should immediately tell Mazzola they have to take the heart healthy stamp off of corn oil.
I agree. 100%. Kumbaya, brother. We agree on all of those
what
things.
I will say, Len, is I do have a serious question to ask you.
Okay.
Why does it seem that a coalition is forming in the Middle East? Why does it seem like there's a coalition forming in the Middle East?
Which one though? Are you talking about, the Saudis and Qatar and who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Saudi, Qatar, Bahrain. All these guys are going to come together and they're going to support securing the Strait of Hormuz, and they're going to police it like they should be doing with the support of the U.S. And they're going to kick out and evict their hostile neighbor, Iran, on the other side of the water and tell them if they don't play ball, then they're not going to globally trade. And they can stay in the dark ages like North Korea. I don't think Iran wants to be another North Korea. And I think what's awesome about this is the fact that Trump is positioning his rooks, his knights, and his bishops on the board. Because that's why I will say, if his name was Biden or Obama, I would put the word pawn in there. But I don't think Trump is positioning them to be pawns like they would. I think Trump is positioning them to be knights, bishops, and rooks, and they are coalescing around the fact that, look, whether or not the U.S. is here or not and we're in conflict, if we don't take care of this problem, which is Iran for since 1970, whatever it is, they're going to have issues throughout the world. And Japan is now coming in on this. Australia is now coming because they're running out of oil. And I think this just sets it up for the biggest Uno reverse, which is all of a sudden, come here, baby. Come back to mama.
All right. Kumbaya is over, man.
So I think it's done. And here's the other last point I would make.
Okay.
So far, this war, we have lost less people than Desert Storm. We've lost less life than Desert Storm. We've lost less life than taking Panama to Panama. We've lost more men and women in military service. And by the way, this is not to disparage or put down or to disenfranchise or to take volume or severity away from the loss of life, because no one wants to lose life. And I would be heartbroken because one of my children does want to be in the armed forces, and I'm not going to stop from doing it. And I'd be heartbroken if that ever happened. But more people have died in training exercises than they had during this conflict. And furthermore, oil is not even at $100 a barrel. It's only been at over $100 a barrel 5 days since Trump's been in office. It was 3 years over $100 a barrel during Obama's tenure, and like 100 some odd days under Biden. So I think this is going to be wrapped up, I think, by the end of May.
All right. So let's start.
Maybe sooner.
Okay. So let's start.
I know that makes you sad in a sense, but
bro, look.
No, it doesn't make you sad, but I know you're going to tell me I'm an absolute psycho right now.
Yes, but I won't say it in those words. So, okay, let's start with some of the things you laid out. Iran would love to be North Korea in this situation. Why? Because nobody messes with North Korea now because of one reason and one reason only. And that's because they have nukes. And if Iran ever gets a nuclear arsenal, they understand that nobody will mess with them again. So from their perspective, they'd be dumb not to get nuclear weapons. Now, again, I'm only speaking from perspective. I'm not saying that I believe that Iran should get nuclear weaponry. So I want to be very clear about that.
We know. Yeah.
Now, with regard to this coalition that's happening, the coalition is getting together because it is in their best interest. But the problem is that Saudis, the UAE, and Qatar, and the other, places, they don't have the military arsenal to protect themselves. And so that's the reason why they want the United States to be involved with this. But you can't tell me that 3 or 4 years ago, like on our last podcast episode, when we showed, all of the times where Trump was called the peace president, and then you had Tulsi Gabbard talking about we want peace and all that. Okay, we won't relitigate that. But the issue is that you mentioned that there so far has been less loss of life, but this conflict has only been going on for less than a month. No, actually, just at a month right now. Started on the 28th. It's the 30th when we're filming this. So there's not going to be an easy way out, because here's the thing. The United States came up with a 15-point resolution that said these are our conditions for us to end the war. And then Trump tries to say, oh, yeah, they want to come to the table. Iran said, look, first of all, we don't even want to talk to you directly. We're going to talk to, Pakistan and Turkey as intermediaries. We're not talking to you directly, because every time you talk to us, we end up getting bombed more. And secondly, we're not negotiating right now, because you already were the ones that came and bombed over 1,000 sites with the Israelis. And so now what they did is the Houthis, they said, you know what, we're going to get involved too, because Israel's going to try to come and strike us while the iron's hot, while they have the United States. And so we better strike right now, because this is what I believe, Chris, is that as more and more lives are snatched away, and as more and more United States military personnel gets wounded, the political appetite is going to keep going down further and further and further. And so when you say that we're going to be out in May, the only problem is that now with war, it takes two to tango. The United States right now, this is what Trump cannot do. He cannot say, okay, we're done, we're out, because what's going to happen? Iran is going to say, no, we're pulling you back in. We'll bomb this desalinization plant. We'll bomb this military site. We'll bomb this U.S. military base in the region. We're going to keep attacking you with our Shahed drones, and you're going to come back. So you can tell us you're walking away from this. We'll drag you right back in, because we got you by the cojones, brother. And so you're not leaving. It's very easy to get in the war. It's very difficult to get out. So if you're right and it's over by May, like I said, lunch is on me, any place you want, but man, not going to happen, Chris. We're going to be in this for a while.
Here's what I can tell you. Trump is looking at this, and everyone's looking at this, and they're going, look, we've already seen this happen before. This is exactly just the actors are different.
Okay.
This is exactly like a post-World War II scenario. And you're like, oh, well, NATO or all the coalition can't arm themselves. No problem. Neither could NATO. We armed NATO. So what do you think we're going to do? We're going to arm our SATO, South American Treaty or whatever NATO stands, North American Treaty, right? This is such a golden opportunity to get rid of a menace. And by the way, nobody wants Iran there. Nobody does. The people that want that's true. That nobody wants them there. So the fact that this is happening, the Saudis are happy, Kuwait is happy, all these guys are happy. All these Middle Eastern countries are like, thank God. And the difference here is, and you know this, Len, you know this, the difference between this situation and other situations is that Trump's a leader. And you're absolutely right. Trump is not going to walk away from it like this, because Trump is a closer. He's not going to leave a deal. Trump looks at this like a boardroom business deal, and he's leaving with a deal, because he doesn't leave without a deal. And see, that's what people don't understand, is that when you put someone who has whether you think he's a good leader or not, he's a leader, and leaders get things done. He's going to go in there and get this thing done. And he's going to go, all right, cool.
It's
Saudis,
not up to him,
back
though,
you.
Chris.
But it is. But here's where it is up to him, because here's why. Look, you and I can say whatever we want about the war, right? We're in America. We have the luxury to do that. But what no one else is talking about is the fact that is that this is no different, Len, than a squatter living across the street from you in your cul-de-sac. Iran is the squatter on your cul-de-sac. And everyone wants to get that squatter out of there. But it's the job of who? You, the neighbors, the neighborhood, and if there is a homeowners association, and then you get who involved? Law enforcement, right? Well, guess what? It's the job of the Saudis, the Emiratis, and all the other guys over there in that area to get rid of their bad neighbor who's been terrorizing them and the rest of the world since 1978. Guess who's the police? We are. So we're going to go, all right, cool. You guys come together like you never have before. And they are, because Iran's biggest mistake was attacking all their neighbors and then going further and attacking their non-military infrastructure. That's what they've done. And you can't believe a word that comes out of Iran. So when anyone says Iran said this, that is automatically horseshit, because no one can believe anything. That's like
the same about us, though. That's
right. But I would trust a fact from America before I trust a fact from Iran's government. And I'm not a government, I don't trust any of them. But that's like China coming and saying that they invented the personal computer, because we know 90% of the things that come out of China is stolen IP anyways, and the world knows that.
Yeah.
So collate is going to collate around. They're going to kick Iran out, and they're going to peacekeep that. And who's going to back them? The U.S. And as far as the big bullies are concerned, think about it. Russia and China have lost a lot of allies. Russia specifically. Russia has lost Venezuela. Russia lost Iran. Is about to lose Cuba. And one other one. So Russia's down a lot of allies right now at this point, and America is up all allies right now. So it's looking good, I think. I think it looks good, Len. I think it looks good. I see it.
Here's your only miscalculation, in my opinion. Here's where your miscalculation is that when you look at Iran compared to the other conflicts and wars that we've had in the past, so much is different. Let me tell you what those differences are. When you look at the asymmetrical nature of the warfare, it's not about winning the war. The United States has not won a war since World War II. The other countries like Korean War, Afghanistan, Iraq, all they have to do is outlast the United States. They've never won any military conflict. Every time the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine goes in, any of those conflicts, they win. But the thing is that we have more weapons. We have more, but they have more time. All they have to do is survive. And so so you have Iraq, where they can take underwater munitions and use that to blow up boats. They can take their drones overhead. They're all dispersed throughout the country, and they can disperse those, and they can create so much havoc, because all they have to do, they control the Strait of Hormuz, and they also control their ability to go and attack all of the desalination plants. If they attack the desalination plants, this is game over. So, but they also understand there will be, no. It will be for them too, but that's the reason why they're not going to do it, because they understand that the repercussions of taking that step is virtually suicide. But if you're going to lose and die in a conflict anyway, you get to a point where it's like, okay, what do I have to lose? So their last card that they can play, and they can absolutely do it like this, is if they go and take a swarm of drones, and they go and they drop it in Saudi and Kuwait and the UAE and Qatar, and they take out their desalination plants, their entire population will die, because there's too many people and not enough fresh water in the region. So they're exercising restraint out of, personal, they don't want to die. They don't want to kill themselves, but they could go and do that. So So last point.
Go
If the
ahead.
United States pulls out, they know exactly the strings to maneuver to pull us right back in. And that's the reason why, regardless of what you say about Trump's leadership, he's not in control anymore, because the moment he declared conflict, he's in. And so he's not going to be able to get out until Iran says, okay, we've accomplished what we've wanted to accomplish and we're done.
I know we're out of time, but here's my biggest question that I keep asking people, and anyone by that matter, Len, that's I want to say it this way, that's not on board with my thinking.
Okay. All right.
Who's they? Who is they? We act like there's a cabinet that's as powerful as the cabinet or the government that's as powerful as the US. You honestly really think that we can't outproduce and overwhelm Iran's manufacturing facilities? There's no way. Here's the thing. Outlast, look, who's they? There's no more organized structure there anymore. Who's they? Who's leading that country right now? We don't even know if the Ayatollah's son that got elected is alive anymore. He's probably dead.
That's the thing. Okay, look.
So
you have the IRGC is a part of and they have diffuse and dispersed leadership who've been preparing for this for 30 years.
It's not going to happen that way, because think about it this way. Look, most people go, oh, it's Iraq. Look, Iraq is a great country now. Iraq has free elections. They have a media. The same. To me, I wouldn't be as passionate about it, Len, if I didn't see the countries in that area coming together the way they are. And I think that's the secret sauce. I think the secret sauce is right. Because here's the thing, Len, I would totally be in your camp right now and go, this is a effing disaster. I hate this. If it wasn't for the fact that we're coalescing a new alliance there with those countries, because everyone knows in that area, this is not a good country. It makes life difficult for everyone. And the fact that you could potentially have someone there that would threaten your vital infrastructure like that, bro, time to crack up the book Art of War by Sun Tzu and decapitate that mofo right now.
I agree with you.
And I think that's what you're saying. That's what you're seeing. Now, I think there's a 20% chance it swings your way, and I pray it doesn't.
Yeah. I agree.
But I think...
Go ahead.
I just think that that's the old monarchs in NATO talking that trash. Oh, it's an ever war. No, that's the old crap of NATO thinking. And we don't think that way anymore. And I think the biggest thing coming out of this is that when we do come out of it, they're going to go, damn, dude, America is going to be looked at like a business partner or a friend or a family member of yours, Len, that you went, holy moly, I don't recognize that person anymore. They grew. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I think we're going to come out of the other side of that. And I think that is vital for America staying the world's superpower or the world's reserve currency. Because if we don't innovate and we don't change our ethos and we don't go back to basics and become, America's portrayed as that, right? Bro, we need to come back as that, because Americans are brashy and they're silly and they're goofy and they're, yeah, damn straight we are. But guess what? When we get the thing about America is that because we say, oh, Iran just has to outlast, and I know, Len, we're out of time, and I'm gonna wrap up with this, but let's not forget that America is the reason why no one messes with America is because everyone knows, dude, no matter how hard you knock America down, they just keep coming, dude. Don't mess with them.
Well,
don't mess with them. They just know, dude. Don't mess with America, bro. Because you can hit them as hard as you want to hit them, and they're gonna come back for you, baby. And when they come back for you, it's not pretty.
Well, I mean, okay. So last thing, and I know we need to wrap up. Which
I know
is
you close us out, Len.
All right. So I hope that the United States of America will understand the fastest exit route from this conflict. I call it a war, but I believe that if you're right, this could go down as one of the most consequential wars that changed the trajectory of America as it relates to its world's position as a superpower and as a global influencer. I don't think that it's going to happen, but I am hopeful that it will. And I just think that we have to be careful in making sure that we don't underestimate the power of humans' desire to stay alive and the depths of atrocities they will inflict on other human beings to make that happen. And so because the United States is so far in, Iran still has a lot of different options to exercise to keep the United States in. And if they decide to do that, it will be at their peril, but there will be a lot of people they take out with them. And so my hope is that you're right and I'm wrong. I just, I came up with this analysis because of what history has shown me. So unless we've completely changed course, I think we're headed for a longer war than any of us want. But we shall see. And until next time, we hope that you enjoyed this conversation of two people that completely disagree with each other. I think today was a little bit more agreeable than usual, but keep coming. And I'm sure that you will agree and disagree with both of us if you stay around long enough. So make sure you like, subscribe. Until next time, Chris, it's always a pleasure having these conversations with you.
See you, Len.
All right.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.